Hello, we're back.
We got chairs now.
Yeah, I'm actually very excited for our guest here. We only met this morning, actually. This is Eric, who is the stuntman for Kratos. Is that right?
That's right. The latest God of War.
Oh my goodness!
Wow.
So I'll let you continue that introduction because I don't think I can provide the most adequate introduction.
I was actually I was a stuntman for 15 years, and I did a little YouTube series called Tekken in Real Life, where I copied Tekken moves in my garage. And my wife was asking me, "Why are you doing this? Why are you wasting your time?" I said, "I don't know. There's something here." And surely enough, that went nowhere for 9 months until Santa Monica Studio, who makes God of War, they found me. They said, "You know how to move like a video game character."
from the YouTube channel.
From YouTube,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
They found me on YouTube, and so I went in and auditioned for doing Kratos' combat in the game. I also did Baldur's combat in game. I did Magni Modi. I did a bunch of the enemies, and ended up doing a lot of that motion capture in that game. That's where they put the suit on you and you move around, and then it records your movement into the game.
Yeah.
So you're actually playing as me.
Right.
When you're
we're
fighting,
playing.
yeah.
You're controlling Eric.
Yeah, in a sense. Yeah.
Under the hood, you're the back end for all.
I mean, at least you think you're controlling me. I'm really kind of controlling you, but that's...
Yeah. Barry would like to point out that's an epic beard you have.
Thank you. It just takes a lot of laziness and of avoiding shaving.
Well, so this is crazy. I've never before met a video game stunt person before. So, well, you did stunt work before mocap for video games, right?
I did stunt work in movies for a while, for 15 years, and stunt work for video games. When you're doing motion capture in video games, it's totally different. It's actually very different. In movies, you're allowed to.
Yeah, we put you in a chair. We should not have you in a chair.
It's the wrong tool for the job here. When you're doing action in movies, when you're tasked with choreography, you get to kind of improvise it a little bit, and you can add your own flair to it. If footwork's off a little bit, that's not a big deal. If you end over here versus over here, it's not a big deal, right?
Yeah.
But when you're doing a game, every move is extremely precise, right? So if they want you to do axe strike like this, then your feet have to begin here. They want you to take a certain amount of time, a certain number of frames for the anticipation, a certain exact line that you need to hit, a certain amount of recovery. If you're doing a big move, it's got to be and you kind of wait here for a while, and then you come back, and then you got to get exactly back where your feet were.
Yes, I mean, as players, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because when you hitboxes are all really important, and that comes down to the mocap recording. Because if you swing your axe, you don't want it to seem like there's a gap between where your character swings and where the enemy gets hit. But then conversely, if you swing your axe and you're like, oh, it went right through him, why didn't it hit him? That comes all the way down to when the mocap is recorded.
That's right.
Which is crazy to think about.
We're talking about a lot of things game development related, and this is certainly part of it. We're not doing development on stream right now. We may at some time, but not at the moment.
Live mocap for a new character here on Twitch Dev? No, maybe. We'll see.
Have a very small space for this.
Those are the Lego building blocks of making in-game combat using motion capture.
Yeah.
And then when you're playing an enemy, an NPC, then your anticipation has to be much bigger, right? Because you have to show that the enemy's coming. So when I was doing Magni Modi, you'd go ooh, like this, and you're kind of winding up, and you open up to try and give them an option, give Kratos an opportunity to hit the guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
These subtleties become just massive. If you have a character that, let's say, it's the action gets blown out to a character that's huge, right, in game. Those subtleties become huge, relative to the character.
That's right, and it's different for different games, right? So for God of War, it's a single player game, but for games like Mortal Kombat, I did 8 characters on Mortal Kombat 11 also. So for that, your anticipation is pretty much going to be the same no matter who you're doing, right?
Yeah.
And so it just really varies.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can get a different headset because this one's not working as well.
Yeah, I mean, I just talked about hitboxes and timings of abilities. I can't think of another game that's more important than Mortal Kombat, right?
Right.
Because person versus person game, this anticipation and all of these animations, the other player makes their decisions based on the animation in extremely real time, very small windows of operation.
That's right.
So I mean. So, okay, you did Kratos, but then you also did multiple Mortal Kombat characters. So what is that like, doing on a single game, having to give essentially what I'd assume is enough identity to each of the characters?
Sometimes in a single day.
Wow, okay, that's crazy.
Yeah. And it's a trip. I mean, but it's a different kind of mindset that you get into where, as you're going, as I'm doing, one character, like I think in one day I was doing Aaron Black and then Johnny Cage on one day, which is like the two of them are so different. Right?
Yeah.
Johnny Cage is like a washed-up B actor who still has martial arts skills, and Aaron Black can't really do martial arts necessarily, so I had to kick badly.
Yeah, that's
when
interesting.
I was doing Aaron Black, and you just kind of have to. It's like, I guess it would be like acting. You just kind of gotta plug in a new skeleton into your head, and that's where the animators will help, right? Because I'm not going in there and just doing it all on my own. The animators are there, and they're really running the show, and they're the experts, And I think I really learned so much of what I know about motion capture from those two games, God of War and Mortal Kombat 11.
Yeah, and so you said that you had your own YouTube channel where you would perform some of the Tekken moves.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there a name for that channel that we can shout out and let folks see?
Eric Jacobus official.
Okay.
YouTube.
So that's Eric Jacobus.
Can you hear me on this
YouTube
one?
official. I can hear you a little bit.
Okay.
Chat, can you hear John? He's off screen right
I'm
now.
off screen, but it seems still a little bit low. Oh, there it is.
There we go.
I see what it was. It was just that the whole time. It was
Again,
just the output.
Debugging live. But I believe this is his YouTube channel. If you want to check out those Tekken moves, definitely give that a look. But also, so you obviously were able to imitate those Tekken moves.
Right.
Then when you were creating or on the like the leadership side of being able to do the mocap for these other characters, what does that process look like? You said that there was you were able to ad-lib a little bit for some roles, but a little bit less with others. How much of it is prescribed to you by the animators, and how much of it is like you get to give input back to the game?
Right. So like before God of War, I did Mafia 3. I did some mocap on that, which is very different. But in God of War, they give much more license to the performer because it's kind of an actor's studio in a sense.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so
like,
you see it when Corey's directing Chris Judge, and like they give a lot of license to that, but they also give a lot of license to the mocap performers too doing the stunts. So what they would say is, they would say we need this much anticipation, we need this hitbox, and we need this recovery. Show us what you think that could do,
Right.
how you could do that. We also need like this many steps, this translation, right? How far forward you need to move. And I would just kind of go into my Tekken in real life move list in a sense.
Right, sure.
Or like my martial arts experience or whatever it is. I say, we have this footwork. Would that work? And they say, no, next foot needs to be a right foot forward because you got the next move coming up. So it would be all based on that. And so I would take everything that they had and then plug it into my martial art library and then find a move that actually looks good.
well, it's great that you can bring your own creativity into the character.
Yeah, it's huge, and it makes it really enjoyable for people working there.
Sure, and I think you're adding to the character, right? You're adding to the creativity that they've created. Like they have all the concept art and all of that, and then you are just trying to personify that artwork.
And Mortal Kombat 11 was very much the same way. They would say we need this kick from a crouch, and I would say, well, the crouch is wrong. You need a different crouch, and they'd say, oh, okay,
Yeah.
And then I would say, well, what about this kick? And they say, yeah, let's do that kick instead.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time they were just trying to find a silhouette. So that the move looks good.
Yeah.
And there are different ways to get to a silhouette, and they were a little bit agnostic about that. And then sometimes they would even change the silhouette, how the move actually looks.
Yeah.
Also very, very collaborative.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How many characters do you think you've captured?
In what, total?
In total,
Oh,
yeah.
geez. I don't know. I've played old ladies. I've played washed-up boxers. I've played 3 guys in the new Marvel's Avengers.
You're the guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've like cornered the market for this.
80% of the mocap is done by 20% of the, even less than that, I'd say.
No, I mean, we always appreciate the publicity, but we're not in it for the fame.
Sure, of course
it's
not.
an awesome job.
Yeah.
It's so rewarding. It's
Yeah.
so rewarding that we started our own company around it, actually.
Wow.
We have a company called Super Alloy Interactive, and we actually have our own motion capture system. And
Okay.
we then, we have the talent in-house, and we provide all the action using motion capture technology.
Perfect.
in-house.
Yeah, tell us more about that. I'll put a link to your website. I assume this
Yes,
is
that's
it.
it. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. So if you want to learn more about the company, that is it in chat. But tell us more about like the technology that you're using.
Well, backing up a little bit,
Sure.
what's really important when you're doing a movie or a game, and the way that I learned how to do action in movies was that you get in very much on the ground floor when creating the action, so that the director has an action vision. And it's important that the action designer, action director, whoever it is able to take that egg and deliver it all the way through the project so that nobody breaks it. So with a lot of action movies, a lot of the time the director will have this great action vision, and then it'll get ruined by the editing, it'll get ruined by the camera. Really nobody's fault. Like, those people are just hired to do their job, but it's not in coordination with the vision.
We see this in like software. It's like leaky abstractions, right? It's like, oh, you tell someone the kick will be this way, and then they operate on the assumption, and then it comes back different, and then things just break down.
And the thing about software is because you're doing everything at the same time, you actually have a much faster feedback loop. Right? So you're actually able to see it much quicker. With a film, you don't see it till the end.
Yeah.
You actually have no idea how that kick looked until the film is edited, and by then it's too late to reshoot it. You can't reshoot it.
Right.
So film is so linear that if action is destroyed, if that Jenga tower of action falls down, you're kind of left with the rubble of action sometimes, and that can't stand in games. It just won't really. Sometimes you'll actually have errors if you do that.
Exactly. And, you know, it always boils down to player experience, right? It's like, it can look beautiful, but when you put that controller or the mouse and keyboard in your hand, does it feel right?
Exactly.
And that's another aspect in games that, you know, like, again, in a movie, you portray it under, it's on the screen, right? Like, everyone will see it in, you know, obviously a bigger screen, smaller screen, what have you. But in a video game, you have so many different ways that the player experience gets felt, or that kick gets delivered against every other character in the game, like in Mortal Kombat.
And you're going to see it over and over and over and over, so you'll know really quickly if it breaks. So what's important for us now is we take that vision of, okay, let's get in at the very beginning, work with directors in video games, figure out what the action vision is. How do you want these characters to move? How do you want them to interact? What do you want the action to look like and feel like? What are the references? What time period are you referencing? Right? And like, what is it about this current time period that is reflected in the game that you're working on, right? Like, different periods influence different movies, right? The Matrix was very much a time period of the Hong Kong martial artists moving into Hollywood, and like action was very, you know, kind of like, you kind of get to see everything, and it's very formal, right? But then 2 years later, after 9/11, you get Born Identity, which totally reflects that period where violence is random and lawless, and nobody wants to abide by the laws because we don't know what the laws are of violence anymore, right? So like, these time periods really dictate how action works. So we try and tune into what the zeitgeist is essentially, and figure out how people really want to play action, how people want to perceive it. Look at Grand Theft Auto came out right, and Grand Theft Auto 3 came out right after 9/11, right? I don't think it's a coincidence that game did so well right after that. So similarly, you know, we're trying to find that language, and we try and deliver that so that game developers, they have it in their mind. They want this kind of action vision. We will take that from the beginning all the way till the end, as far as we can, as far as they'll let us.
And you know, that I'd assume this is like, you know, fairly obvious to say, but like, drawing from all of that experience, from all the different characters you've played across, you know, all these different, you know, time periods or different roles, essentially, by having all of that knowledge, that enables you to be more confident in delivering that end-to-end product for, you know, either movies or, you know, if you're working with games.
And I watch a lot of movies and play a lot of games. So.
Well, some of these things are things that people may not think about, you know, like consciously, but they make a difference in the experience, whether they realize it or not.
Absolutely.
And so having someone who's on the creative side making it is critical to being sure that's not just a coincidence, right?
Yeah, and that's what my talk is going to be about tomorrow too. Is we're actually going to go through that entire process of how that action code is found at various times in history, how different directors approach it, and then how you can actually deliver that in video games.
Got it. Yeah. So how big is your operation? You know, like, how many people are involved? How many people do motion capture?
We're a startup company. And so we bring on as many motion capture people as we need. You know. So, you know, right now it's like we get the deal where, you know, you buy a day of mocap, you get me, right?
Right.
And I'm happy to do it. And but if there's special things needed, like if you need a contortionist, then, you know, we're based in Las Vegas, and that's the home of Cirque du Soleil now.
There you go.
And so you can get any performer that you ever need. So
great.
There's a ton of talent there. And then LA is a short stop away, and my connections with the stunt industry, which go back, you know, 20 years. I can always bring in those guys too. So we're never short on talent.
Right. That's amazing. Yeah, you bring in all sorts of people. I mean, it sounds like you have a lot covered, but
I do okay. You know, for a 37-year-old bearded man. I do okay.
Very cool. Is there any other things, because I know we're talking about movies and games specifically. I don't know if there's like other applications for motion capture or what people are interested in using it for.
You know, motion capture could be, it's interesting to see how motion capture is going to play in with machine learning. Because as you keep on finding all these interesting algorithms trying to create NPCs that move like humans, and also trying to do smooth transitions between two animations. Well, how do you teach the machine how to move realistically? And yeah, you could do it based on reference video, you could do it based on, you know, X, Y, and Z, but I think that feeding it actual mocap data is probably as close as you can get right now. Aside from I don't know what else.
Right. No, that's very interesting because you know I feel like that's a very difficult problem because you're so used to capturing like here is the standing animation, here is the punching animation, and then you have all of these things and how you transition between them to look like a real human.
For example, I mean, if you're doing a fighting game and you throw a punch and you get hit while you're throwing a punch, it's going to kind of look like this, right? If you watch UFC, anybody who watches UFC, the punch still goes, right? And sometimes the punch will still connect, but you're still getting hit.
Right.
Well, it's really hard to motion capture that because you actually got to get a guy to get hit.
Right.
So you can't do that over and over, right? But it's really also, it's difficult to hand key that as well. So how do you teach a machine, okay, throw that, get hit, can you teach it to react appropriately?
Right.
Right. And I think that would be the next level of where to take this, so that you.
Very interesting. Yeah.
So you know you could apply an injury, and then like, oh, now you're punching like this.
Right. Because you're leaning over.
But you didn't have to mocap all 300 animations like this, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Or like with the leg, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I mean, a great example is like you mentioned Mortal Kombat, right? Like you'd have to mocap getting hit by like every type of punch or kick, like high kick, low kick,
every place,
and it just becomes like an explosion of like different takes you need to do, and like at a point it just becomes like, all right, it's unreasonable.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, if you have the X-ray breaks, if you break an arm in a game, how do you're gonna mocap the entire move set with a broken arm?
Right. Go through it all again. There's too many combinations of
Way
all the
too
things.
much.
Yeah. Melissa has a great question. She says strange question. I actually had the same question. Do beards get in the way of motion? Motion
Yes,
detection?
they do. They do. Anybody who's done motion capture will know this. So you get like 53 markers on you or so, and like there's one right here, and when I go like that, it hides that marker.
Oh, so it's a visual marker.
I have to keep it about this length.
I see.
There's just a mold that you go home for, and it's just the perfect length.
Yeah, I keep a little marker at home.
So would it be longer if you weren't doing the motion capture?
No, I don't think so.
You'd still
I
trim
think
it down.
I'd cut it. Yeah.
Yeah,
At a certain
okay.
point. At a certain point, it falls on your plate, man. I don't know how you.
Right.
You
Absolutely.
have to like do. I don't even know. It's like taking your badge. You got to do that before you go into the bathroom. Or
Right,
something. I can't imagine doing that with my beard.
So what else? What else do you want people to know? What's the call to action for our audience today?
Well, I would say, you know, indie developers out there who are interested in doing mocap. You know, our company Super Alloy, we're out there, we're doing it. Check out Extends also as a low-cost mocap alternative because you can capture really good animation using an Extend system.
And what is that? Sorry, where?
Extends. It's XSENS.
Okay. Great.
And that's like, I mean, that is kind of on the indie level.
Okay.
For developers out there. But if you need talent, you know where to go.
Okay. Yeah, that's where it is. If you need the punch of Kratos, it's right here.
And again, that they can get in touch with you through Super Alloy, right?
That's right.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, Eric, thank you so much for dropping
Thank you,
by.
guys.
I
Yeah.
definitely appreciate it.
It's been a blast, yes.
Thanks,
And
everyone.
I'm sure we'll see you throughout. And if you're here, feel free to find Eric. You can't miss him with the beard. And if he punches you, you know you found him.
anybody. It's all
But
fake.
anyway. Well, anyway, thanks for joining us. Thank you, Eric.
Bye,
Nick,
thank you.
we'll see you soon. We're going to head off to the main stage again for oh, yes, Matt, why don't you come on first before we head out? Here you go. I'll give you that.
Yeah, one moment.
We do have one special thing left. Thank you for
special
joining
thing.
our
Thank you.
streams. We've prepared a speaker gift
Thank you.
with some Twitch swags. We
Thank
hope you
you.
enjoy. There should
Thank
be
you so much.
some apparel and
I'll do an unboxing
yeah, I was gonna
video.
ask.